Welcome back to my review of Apple TV Plus's The Morning Show, talking about Season 2, Episode 5. I'm going to run out of fingers soon. This review is all about me sharing my thoughts and opinions on the latest episode, so there will be spoilers if you haven't watched the episode yet. If you have, I would love to hear your feelings too, so do like, comment and subscribe, and let's talk Episode 5, Ghosts! And there is plenty for our characters to be haunted by this episode. So, after Alex taking a slight backseat in last week's episode, she's firmly back in the limelight this week. And her character details are deeper and richer and much more complex. And we'll get to that a little bit later. First, let's start with Corey's story. He is haunted by Fred, by Hannah, and by Bradley. It's a veritable Christmas carol. We were left last week with some confusion over Corey and Fred's relationship, but here, in a flashback, all the dirt of their sordid deal is laid bare. Fred convinced the board to hire Corey, so Corey would convince them to give Fred that huge payout. So it's more Faust than Dickens, really. Corey has sold his soul to the devil, or at least Fred, which is close enough. Now, Fred wants to leverage that information to get Corey to do his dirty work and to get that lawsuit resolved ASAP. And he certainly has no intentions of stopping the papers smearing Hannah. Corey deals with this initially by visiting Bradley. He wants to connect with someone that knew Hannah as a human being, he says. We later learn that he apparently views Bradley as someone with a strong sense of right and wrong, and he calls her his Jiminy Cricket, his conscience. And that was certainly the image of Season 1 Bradley, the great truth teller. But now we know that Bradley is actually struggling a lot with her own truth, and she's quite a different character maybe. Shortly after their chat, Corey's PA tells him about Bradley and Laura, which Corey dismisses as gossip, but does seem rattled. Corey then gets his second flashback of the episode, and I think it's the second flashback of the whole show. Where did these come from? It seems a little bit unusual. Corey remembers a very intimate, flirtatious moment of Bradley saying there might be some benefits to him not being the boss. But we don't know if it went any further than face stroking because the flashback ends. Will we get a return of the flashback to see more of their relationship? I wonder. Corey heads off to Green Bay to visit Hannah's estranged father, who's suing the network for the same $119.2 million that Fred got as his payoff. This is a complicated scene. Corey is conflicted between wanting to protect Hannah's memory. Why he is so invested, that's not quite clear given his level of remove from her story. And he's also trying to shut down the suit to protect his own reputation. Her father, on the other hand, is acting out of guilt and sees this as a way to get some kind of justice. He is not trying to protect her honour though. He doesn't care about the stories, though we are reminded by Bradley that Hannah would not have wanted to become a story. The scene has a kind of obscure ending, with Hannah's father asking if the stories are true, and then we cut away. We don't learn that his position hasn't changed until later, and Corey is discussing the details with Bradley. There's a lot at play in this storyline, and frankly, trying to work through it makes me realise that I'm not invested enough. Perhaps the writers have realised that they killed off a great asset from Season 1 and are trying to hold on to some of that capital this season, but it's not really working, and Corey's new personal stakes don't have me any more invested. Maybe if there was a broader political movement behind the lawsuit, or someone had leaked Fred's payout amount to the father, so there was an internal UBA connection to the lawsuit, we could be more invested. I'm struggling to engage in Corey's turmoil, and it doesn't feel terribly in character either. Anyway, the resolution we are left with is that he needs to exchange the story about Hannah that the papers do have for a more salacious story, and one falls right into Corey's lap. Bradley accidentally confirms the rumours of her relationship with Laura when on the phone to him, and then she gives him permission to do whatever is necessary to keep Hannah's name out of the press. I'm almost 100% certain that he's going to sell out Bradley to save Hannah. But is there also an element of him doing that out of jealousy? I did suggest in an earlier episode review that they had probably slept together. And while we're none the wiser on the details of their relationship, things have definitely got a little bit deeper than friendship. Back to Alex though. We spent most of the last episode getting to a point where Alex would be moderating the Vegas debate. And we catch up with her and Chip deep in preparation for this event. She's pulled away for a meeting and it's with Mindy Kaling. Just seeing her face, honestly, it makes me so happy. And she does next to nothing on this show. I mean, what the heck are they paying her to drag her away from everything else she's doing to get her on set? I don't get it, but I love seeing her. Anyway, Audra from YDA arrives to get Alex's blessing for Maggie Brenner to promote her new book on YDA. And we're back to Alex's obsession with Maggie's book. Also in this scene, we're introduced to the idea that Alex forgets her bad behaviour. She says she's been gracious to Audra, who literally laughs in her face, and then realises that Alex actually believes what she's saying. Alex's past is a ghost that recurs throughout this episode. So traumatised by the inevitable publication of this book, Alex manifests back pain. That at first seems like an excuse to snap at Chip and leave, but through the episode becomes more and more tangible. Alex instructs Chip to get a copy of Maggie's book for her. She is desperate to be forearmed, but Chip says there's no way to get a copy. She tells Chip that he is likely all over the book too. And later in the episode, after more debate prep and the two have been for a drink, it's revealed that Chip has actually spoken to Maggie Brenner as she was writing the book. Off the record, he assures Alex. She wants to know what he has said to her, and he says, in reference to Mia, "You were talking about how you didn't want Mitch's garbage." Alex is horrified and denies saying that about Mia. Chip remembers her saying, "Mitch could where he eats, you didn't want his trash," and qualifies it by saying, "I know you didn't mean it like that." Alex is adamant that Chip is wrong. Luckily for us though, this is an event from the flashback episode from season 1. Just before going to LA, Mitch tells Chip to remove Mia from his team and give her to Alex. When Chip tells Alex this, she says she is not taking Mitch's hand-me-downs and that he can where he eats all that he wants, but I am not his trash can. And I guess the implication is that Mia is the trash, but she's Mitch's metaphorical trash. Alex doesn't actually call Mia garbage or trash. Mia is just a pawn in the power play between these two figures. What do you think? What did Alex actually mean? It's complex, isn't it? Chip isn't the only one remembering Alex's stories though. Laura has a long monologue about Alex's early days in the business, how she presented herself as more fun, but she was always a careerist, she warns Bradley. Laura implies that it wasn't a coincidence that shortly after Alex found out she was a lesbian, YDA also found out and then fired her. And then that Alex avoided her on the street not long after. Memories like these are interesting. Laura has projected a whole story onto Alex that will be very easy for the writers to undermine if they want to. This could have been just after Alex had had an unwanted encounter with Mitch, for example, and was too ashamed to see someone she knew. Or Alex could be as bad as Laura thinks she is. We don't know. Will the writers tell us any more about this moment, I wonder? It feels a bit too delicious to ignore. They're certainly showing that Alex is struggling more and more in the present though, until she ends up at Maggie Brenner's hotel room, which seems conveniently just down the corridor from her own room. I guess this moment is what we've wanted from these two since their first tense scenes in season 1. Alex is desperate to find a copy of the book, but all she finds is a cover mock-up for the wrong side of the bed, full of blank pages. Maggie tells Alex that there is nothing in the book she doesn't already know, but the book is going to say that Alex and Mitch slept together. Alex denies this, and Maggie says that she can sue her if it's libel. It wasn't Mitch though who spilled the beans, so who did tell Maggie? Chip? Alex's ex-husband? Alex says, if you f me up, you're going to f up our whole country, which seems like a huge claim, particularly as America's morning show family has already been broken up. How could things get worse? Well, one possible theory is, dun dun dun, Lizzie, Alex's daughter, is really Mitch's daughter. So how deep into soap opera land are we? Lizzie does talk about him always being there when she was little in season 1, and also there's the disturbing idea, left over from season 1, that Mitch getting on top of Alex wasn't consensual. Am I pushing it too far? There has to be some revelation beyond what we as an audience already know at the moment, surely. Elsewhere, Yanko complains that TMS want to see him educated in Native American culture on the show. He's happy to do it, but thinks putting it on air will make it seem less sincere. He doesn't want to bow to progressive bullshit. I find it very hard to identify with his mindset. It feels like Yanko just has bad manners. He's happy to be forced to learn, but doesn't seem to actually care that he might have caused genuine offence. Is he putting his politics first? We've got this whole idea of him being a Republican, which could be linked to this Trump theme that keeps coming through. There could have been an argument here for him not showing the learning if Yanko had taken the initiative for it himself. And he is right that it is disingenuous to show it if he isn't actually interested in learning. There isn't enough grey here for me to be interested in Yanko. I can't see what his struggle is. Later, Stella is verbally assaulted as we see the first signs of anti-Asian American hate as a backlash to the impending COVID pandemic. Yanko witnesses this and, apparently using super hearing from across a busy New York street, seems to hear what was said. He's then filmed by the public beating up Stella's assailant. And surely that will come back to haunt him. #ghosts. Back over in Italy, that house. Whew. But this isn't a Selling Sunset review. Mitch is helping Paula finish her documentary. He asks why she wanted to quarantine with him in that house. Why wouldn't she? He says that he is damaged, and she says that she knows. The damage thing, you know, makes me feel at home. Later, we see Mitch watching her play with his dog, and I realise that so far, Paula is just a manic pixie dream woman. This woman has come from nowhere to heal Mitch, to build him up and defend him, to give him a purpose. She's kooky and she's fun and she likes dogs. It's like tick, tick, tick. It's all there. She convinces him to help her practice interviewing, which we don't see because the next time we see them, Mitch is just straight away pouring his heart and soul into the camera. Paula has done nothing that we have seen to get him to this point. He admits everything and goes further to say that his greatest crime was pushing Hannah to help him after the fact, when he could see how much pain she was in. He was too self-involved to care. And as we watch Paula watch Mitch, I wondered if the manic pixie dream woman is an act. Has she manipulated damaged Mitch to get this footage to make a name for herself? Is she going to betray him? Did she even set up the fight in the gelateria to gain his confidence? Or is she just the Instagirl from episode 2 on steroids? I guess we'll find out, and I really hope that this is the kind of twist that the morning show is going to give us. As always, there is plenty of intrigue and potential for discussion in the morning show. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear where you think we are headed. So go ahead, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.